Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun, host of Vancouver Island Time and co-host of He Said, She Said, They Said with
Hi, everybody. It's Andrew Flank.
a Varela page.
I'm just going to leave it there.
How are you doing?
Good. Week starting off with a bang. Yeah.
Busy?
A lot of technical glitches. It's hard to start a day where you just start hitting walls right off the bat. So, and especially, the week. I'm not giving up yet, though. It's just begun. It's too early.
It's just begun.
Okay, if you sing, I might have to give up.
My kids used to say, Mom, just stop. Just stop.
Yeah, we used to say that to our mom, too.
So, I'm starting off the week with a bang too. I just found out I had an erroneous charge on my bank. And so yesterday I all of a sudden spent like 3 or 4 hours down a rabbit hole with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's being resolved. Thank God for technology.
Yeah. So was it a scam or was it, what was the deal?
I don't know.
Okay.
It went to my Rogers account. So there we go.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, so we got an accepted offer on the weekend. I got another accepted offer. I have to tell you, with buyers, there's a lot of confusion happening right now because they're looking at so much information. One of my buyers actually read the wrong strata docs. And so she asked for two sets.
How does that happen? How does that actually happen?
Well, we looked at two properties. We placed an offer on one property. She read the strata docs and they were for the other property.
Right. Okay.
And she decided not to go ahead.
Oh, no.
And then she realized it was the wrong property.
Oh, my. Had she let go already? Oh, wow.
And then there was an accepted offer. But, live and learn. That's okay.
Well, with such low inventory right now, that's, just getting an accepted offer is a unicorn in itself. And then to have to let it go for that and then find out it didn't have to go.
With conditions.
Yeah, I know. Good job. Good job.
Oh, well. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's talk about the market.
Yeah.
So I'll do the top one. You can do the bottom one. Okay. For the year of, we're at Monday, January 24th, 2022, we have 278 unconditional sales so far this year compared to 646 for the month of January in 2021. So I expect we'll be lower.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be bridging that gap in the next week.
No. New listings were also lower, 472 compared to 911. I know that a lot of sellers are waiting, but it's a great time to get on the market because we only have 757 listings. That is less than 1,321 compared to last year in January.
Yeah, and if we were to look at the year before that and the year before that and the year before that, we'd be seeing much, much higher numbers even then. So January 2021 was low inventory in and of itself. We said this before, but just, wow. Okay. New listings in the last week, 172 new listings came on the market, which is good news. That's compared to only 139 properties going pending. So we're seeing a bit of a differential there, which is nice to see. That could suggest that we're going to start seeing some more inventory, our inventory numbers growing. Price, 139 pending as mentioned, price decreases 10, price increases 7, 2 properties back on market. I know of one property that just came off market this week due to COVID. It was a tenanted property and the day it listed, it said no showings due to COVID. And then it was sat there for a few days and then removed. And my clients were like, we want to see this, what's going on? So it's interesting how these things are affecting us. 90 sold properties, 5 expired, 3 withdrawn.
So I understand. So I do see in some cases tenants saying that they have COVID. and we
But
just have to deal with that.
you have to trust that they do, or yeah.
Sometimes they do try and manipulate the process. So, and I get it. They're trying to control their environment, and that's okay. Let's talk about sales. So, one of the things we're both doing right now, obviously, is focusing on buyers. We ran into each other at a listing where we both had buyers. And in the case of stratas, what we're doing is, trying to determine whether or not there's a good fit for our clients before we even go in. So we can review things like the types of rentals allowed, the pet restrictions. So I met with two buyers this week who have two dogs, and I was
Mhm.
like, oh no, actually, they have a large dog. They have a 60-pound dog. So, after working with many clients over the years, we have actually come up with a strategy where every time we come up to a new listing and we check the bylaws, we put it in a spreadsheet.
Mhm.
So, I'm going to share this spreadsheet, but if other people want to use it, they have to do their own research because this took a long time.
And
Okay.
keep in mind too that these spreadsheets are a snapshot in time, and bylaws do change.
Yeah.
So staying on top of it is a work in progress.
So first of all, actually, let's just talk about the market. So when you have you're allowing all sorts of rentals, short-term, long-term, transient rentals, which means less than 30 days. So you allow Airbnb. Then you um, uh, start to take that away. You narrow your market. When you add pet restrictions, you narrow your market. And when you add age restrictions, you narrow your market. So the more constrictions you put on a property, the less likely you are to sell it. And what happens is with age restrictions, they're hard to finance because CMHC doesn't like them. And so you can actually really affect your resale value. So that's why we're talking about this today, right?
Yeah. Restrictions really kind of, I mean, they can help improve. People put in restrictions because the ownership wants a certain uh, population within their complex, and they think that for whatever reason there's a problem with maybe large dogs or multiple pets or people under the age of 19. You see a lot of age restrictions in the area around UVic, for example, because the owners of the strata condo buildings don't necessarily want what they would think is the risk of young kids in there partying all the time. So there's lots of different reasons for putting these in, but it does, as Jean said, it restricts who you can then sell to, and the reasons that they would be wanting to buy.
And I was just thinking, what if they did a reverse age restriction where you said no people over the age of 35? Wouldn't that be interesting? I don't think
It'd be like a reality TV show.
Okay, so let's just pull that one up first. And I've got so many lists up. Let me just see if this is the right one. Yes, it is. Okay. Share. So it looks really small. We're going to zoom in. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, Andrew.
I'm gonna have to get those glasses back on, Jane.
Okay, they're on the age is on the left here, youngest age allowed.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to zoom in. So 50, 55, these are all just like totally, I don't know where they come from. 16, 45, 19, 18.
Where they come from, meaning like, how did they come up with this when they voted these things in?
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that people don't always realize is it takes a 3/4 vote to change a bylaw. And so once a bylaw is in, it can be sometimes hard to change out. It can be hard to get a bylaw in the first place, and then it's hard to change out again afterwards. And once you changed it, you change if it's only, let's say 55 plus people move, 45 plus, 55 plus people moving into units, they tend to be retired. They tend to be maybe conservative with their spending, and that building may then no longer be getting the same kind of upkeep that it may require.
Yeah. And also, so like if you're having people planning for their retirement, they may decide they don't want to invest in putting on a new roof in 10 years, so they may not want to build up the contingency. I do find that generally young couples and older people tend to be attracted to the same building, but because of the age restriction, now they're no longer. So young couples are finding it hard to move in. And so, really, what the elderly people do because they're building their nest egg, I know they want to live there. And I've heard people say they don't want to share space with younger people, but the younger people are just having a hard time getting in. And actually, where this came in the other day was I have a client looking and they're about to have a baby, and the only places they like are 55 plus. So,
Well, that's partly because of price point too. And that's the thing is one of the things we talked about is that when you put in restrictions, it does affect your marketability, and affecting marketability does affect price. 55 plus units in buildings that are 55 plus restricted tend to be cheaper. And so it's again self-fulfilling.
yeah.
And
Okay.
that,
So, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, I've had clients also who have sold their units in some of the older buildings that are not age restricted, but they've had a baby, and then the baby is a lot louder than they had anticipated. And the neighbors below don't like the baby banging the wooden blocks on the floor and crying and so forth. And so they've sold out and bought a house simply because of noise. And that's one of the reasons why sometimes again people bring in some of these age restrictions, but it's a balancing act for sure.
Yeah. And I think they really shoot themselves in the foot in the long run
Mhm.
because they're focused on living there in the moment, but it's not a good scene. Okay, so we're just gonna look at pet restrictions now. So, this one.
So pet restrictions are often, they can be based on the kind of pet, they can be based on the size of pet, they can be based on the number of pets. Uh, so there's all kinds of different combinations of pet restrictions. And one of the things Jane was saying, and one of the challenges as an agent and as a buyer is finding a condo that nominally allows, let's say it allows dogs, but you've got a 50 pound dog of a certain breed or something, and then there may be a restriction on dogs up to, as I can see here, 22 pounds or 14 inches at the shoulder height. And so you have to dig a little deeper to find, that subsection of condos that will actually allow your pet.
So Erica, who's a realtor in Vancouver, says, I think that there should be pet restrictions like only dogs that weigh over 35 pounds or are taller than 19. Oh, should not, I think she's saying. Pet restrictions are silly. Yes. Because the reason most people have the pet restriction is because A, they think they can control the dog if it's smaller. B, they can carry the dog through the common area. There are instances where I've seen in condos where they've actually said um, they don't want
Yeah, I was
they
going to
don't.
Erica, good point. And that's the thing I've seen a lot of times. And the people with the larger dogs are always making this point. I don't understand why they allow these small dogs that are the yappy, loud dogs that are often making all the noise. And then the big dogs that tend to be a little bit more laid back and quieter aren't allowed in.
Yep. So Erica said that small dogs are much louder than large ones. The other thing is two dogs.
Mhm.
Very hard to find any place that has two dogs. We have clients right now who are looking dogs. Love company. I have a dog. I know she's lonely, would love another dog, but I
Mhm.
can't handle it. But it's rare that, especially new construction, the basic rule is one dog, one cat. And so you can see some of them here, they've added an extra cat or an extra dog, and it's usually one or two of the same.
Yeah, the standard bylaws, if you're buying into a unit that has the standard bylaws, it's going to be one dog and one cat, but not two cats, not two dogs.
Yeah.
So that confuses a lot of people. And also with the standard bylaws, there's a lot of condos out there that you may not actually see bylaws right away. And one of the things people get confused about is duplexes, for example. A half duplex is actually a strata. And some agents erroneously, they'll market these things as like no restrictions, but they have restrictions. The standard bylaws apply. Look them up if you're curious. But technically, one dog or one cat, or one dog and one cat, or one dog or one cat.
So I have to tell you that also Bearland strata, they're very frustrating because you have people who live in their own house. They share the road with other owners, and the standard bylaws apply of one dog and one cat. And so buyers are turned off of that.
Yeah, to be clear, the standard bylaws apply if no other bylaws have been registered.
Yeah. So the first thing you need to do when you move in to new construction is change the bylaw.
And that means getting 3/4 of your neighbors to all agree on that change.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Jane, what about when we've both had this where you've got a client who says, I'm gonna just bring my 2 cats in anyway, but even though there's only one cat allowed, because who's gonna know? Or maybe I can get permission afterwards.
No.
Why not?
Because you're going to be fined every week that you contravene the bylaw, and it's going to cost you a lot of money over time. Plus, you're moving into a new building, and you have to look at the politics of the building and the fact that this is a community,
Mhm.
and you're buying into the community, and the community has its own bylaws.
Right. And yet, what if the strata president said, no, it's fine, you can bring your 2 cats?
I would like that in writing, please, and I want to vote.
Right. Right. So you get it in writing from the strata president. The strata president then gets in trouble from the strata ownership, because the council's job is to enforce the strata rules, not to change or interpret them. So even if you have a comfort letter from the strata itself, that doesn't actually give you permission technically to have those pets.
Comfort letter kills me.
Mhm.
Okay, so a funny story last week, these clients with 2 dogs that are no, it says in the bylaws, it said 2 dogs under 30 pounds. And they go, well, we have 1 dog that's 60. I'm like, no. I did have a client buy a townhouse, and she had 3 dogs, and it was a new construction. And I said, the rule says only 2 dogs. She goes, oh, my dog's really old. This older dogs, and she's gonna pass away. And I'm like, well, I don't think so. Like, you have to really be careful about your decision here. She goes, it'll be fine. Well, it turns out the dog was so small, she would just carry the dog in and out in her purse.
I mean,
But
take what we say as advice, and you'll do your own thing. I mean, people do move into condos and hide their pets, but if they do get caught out, hopefully we've advised you of the challenges and problems. And yes, you can have a repetitive fine applied against your property for having too many pets.
yeah. And also, some people have the wrong type of pets. So if you notice, the rules focus mainly around dogs and cats, and some people have reptiles and other interesting animals. Do you want me to pull that up again? So, like, you have to really be careful that you don't bring in the wrong pet as well.
Yeah, some bylaws will say aquarium animals or small aquarium animals. Some of these bylaws are very subjective. Like I saw on your list there, small dog, right? How do you define a small dog? And at what point does it become a big dog? And it's not defined in the bylaws. That's a difficult bylaw to enforce.
Yeah, I'm just looking here. Up to 2 usual household pets.
Right, right. Another one. What's a usual?
Under 25 must notify council.
Right. Yeah. Small dog is about 2/3 of the way down that list.
Yeah, 1 dog not greater than 24 inches at the shoulders. That's called the withers, and no more than 20 kilograms fully grown. So that's 50 pounds. So that's good for bigger dogs. But then if your dog gains weight, Anyway, I had a client, it cost her $75,000 because they had a 14-inch rule. And anyway,
What in
the
another
buyer had a
she had to
15-inch zone.
sell? How
Hmm?
does that cost her $75,000? Tell me about this. Tell us about this, please.
So we listed the condo. We had an offer day one, and then they saw the bylaw of 14 inches at the shoulders.
Mhm.
The dog, it was said 14 inches. I think maybe the dog was mismeasured, but because I didn't measure the dog. But anyway, so the buyer went away, and it took a year and a half to sell that condo, and and the sale price was $75,000 less.
I see. So you could have had a buyer off the bat had pets been allowed, and that's the thing. People will pay extra because of pets. They will pay a
Yes.
lot. They will pay a lot of money to find a home versus an equivalent home that doesn't allow pets. They will pay a premium for this condo that allows the pets in it.
Yeah, and I
So
will say, I mean, I can certainly understand that there are certain buildings where they don't allow pets because people don't take care of the pet uh doo-doo around the property, and there you start to see all these rules, and it's basically one owner who's abusing the process, or sometimes the pets may pee or whatever in the elevator or the hallway. Like, really, it's the pet owner that really has to be controlled, not the pet.
some pets get old and infirm and have problems, and all of us who've had pets have had that issue, and people who love pets, you adapt and deal with that. But generally speaking, in condo buildings, because there's the common areas and stuff, you do have to take some of that into account if the pet is coming and going through those spaces.
So, my assistant put together this list. This is all the downtown condos with transient zoning. So, this
Yeah.
means that they allow generally less than 30 days. And these are really popular buildings. They tend to sell quickly, and there's tons of investors looking. And you can see there's maybe like 30 at the most, 25 um, buildings with transient zoning. The only issue with this is that the the zoning may allow, but the strata may change its rules.
Yeah, that's so when we're talking bylaws, we've got bylaws and then we've got, what the city or municipal zoning allows. And you've got to look at both of those when you're talking restrictions. In this case, these transient properties, this is a great list. These transient properties, the zoning allows it, but some of them will have voted against transient voting, transient rentals, and so they may only allow 1 month minimum, for example.
Yeah, and the reason for that is they just have found that perhaps the people who are staying in the building, again, they haven't been screened, they're not behaving themselves, and so they tend to move away from that. So I always find it's a result of some bad behavior in the past that's created that.
When you have transient zoning, you have more chance of somebody coming in and not respecting the building, not respecting the respecting the restrictions like the pet restrictions, and maybe making a lot of extra noise or having a party. And then there's that coming and going that you see people just there's a security aspect to it as well. You've got people you don't know coming into the building, um, and you just don't recognize them. So I mean, I lived in a building downtown and it did not allow transient zoning, and yet you'd see people coming and going all the time with their little wheeled uh, their wheeled
Thanks.
suitcases coming in and out, and you just know, okay, that unit there is somebody's renting that as transient illegally.
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 Yeah, and then the question, is what do you do?
Mhm. Yeah. Well,
So
and generally speaking, I suggest going up the ladder in terms of like first talk to the owner, and if you don't get anywhere with the owner, then maybe talk to somebody on strata council, property management, that sort of thing. But first, be neighborly and talk to your neighbor first.
I have a question. When you have a client and they're interested in a property and they want to review the strata docs, how do you review the strata docs with them?
Well, I send them the strata docs, and I offer, and I also have sort of synopsis of this is what you should look for. I have a document that kind of outlines each of the sort of types of documents and the documents within strata docs, what they are, what they mean, how to sort of interpret them, and offer to go through them with my client. And oftentimes it'll be, read through them, because not everybody writes on every property. And if I was to read every set of documents for every building, that would be all I'd spend my time doing. So I suggest they read through them. We then circle back and discuss any questions they have and sort of go through them with a more fine-tooth comb. I've gotten very good at scanning bylaws, scanning strata document, meeting minutes and so forth, looking for certain flags. And then I'll sort of highlight those. We might do a Zoom meeting these days to go through it.
Yeah. Last night I reviewed some documents for a client, and I just like right off the bat, because it was an investment, I looked right at the Form B to see what was the contingency fund. I looked at the depreciation report to see what the upcoming costs were. I looked at the bylaws to see what the rentals were, and I looked at the minutes just to see what the psychology of the
Yeah. One thing to talk, yeah, exactly. And another thing to look at when we're talking rental restrictions, for example, is it's a little more complicated. If you're looking for an investment property, you need to consider the age of the building and the developer's rental disclosure statement, as to how and why, how long this building might be rentable. Because sometimes you can buy a building and your rentability is protected and grandfathered, even if the bylaws get changed or they can't be changed. So first owners of a building bought before 2010, they're protected even if bylaws change, as long as the developer registered a rental disclosure statement that said that the units could be rented up to for an amount of time, let's say that's 100 years. But if the developer's rental disclosure statement was registered after 2010, and I just had this actually with a building that was built in 2010, I had clients looking at this, but anyway, if it was after 2010, and they're saying rentals are allowed, then any subsequent owner as well can be buying in and is protected. The bylaws can't actually be changed to no longer allow rentals.
Cannot be changed.
And cannot be changed. Yeah. So if you're looking for an investment property, you're looking for a property where the rental disclosure statement was registered after 2010, or you're sitting as a first owner in a building that you own that was built before 2010.
So what would be the benefit for a developer to say that these would only be rentable for a number of years? I don't get it.
It goes down to whatever their marketing is. Like, what are they looking for the mix of potential buyers, and what do they kind of anticipate as their marketplace? And their market might be somebody, let's say it's the retired couples looking for a forever retirement home, and they actually don't want to have a complex full of yahoos renting or coming and going. But generally speaking, for marketing purposes, developers tend to keep a pretty wide open set of bylaws, and they will open up the standard bylaws more widely to allow for a wider range of potential buyers.
If they're a savvy developer that's been around for a while, yeah. There's like a whole rabbit hole we can go down regarding all of this. So, but we won't today. But I'm just thinking the type of parking you're allowed, there's specific spots, just even how the bylaws regarding in different areas now with buildings and
laundry rules, when you can do your laundry, noise rules. These are things you actually really can get a sense of the ownership by reading these bylaws and saying, read the standard bylaws. If you've read a number of different bylaws, and you get sort of an idea of what's sort of normal to see, and then you'll see sometimes you'll find a set of bylaws that are just, wow, who are these people who live here? They really are not happy people. They are restricting everything and getting their nose into everything. And you don't want to buy into a condo that has no restrictions, but you definitely don't want to buy into a condo that has too many.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Andrew, I've got to go. I'm running a workshop today on vision boarding in half an hour, so I have to
Excellent.
prepare for that.
Okay.
What are you up to this week?
Well, I'm going to meet a lady. We're going to list up a place. I've got some offers to bandy about this week as well. Hopefully, wish us luck. They're, going to be highly competitive in the marketplace because these are for houses. And yeah, and getting ready for the spring market.
I have 2 listings potentially coming up in Machosen, and I have one coming up potentially in Central Saanich, another one coming up in Colwood. So we'll see what happens. I'll let you know next week when I get them signed up.
Hear about the Central Saanich one for sure. Okay,
Okay.
everybody. Thanks, Jane, for this conversation today, and thanks everybody for watching. And
Okay. Have a better week.
thank you. You too.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.